Welcome to the Workplace Ninja Summit 2022 podcast. A live recording directly from Lucerne with interesting topics.
So welcome again at the live stream at the Workplace Ninja Summit 2022. And today it's the second recording and I have on the table Nina and Per, both from Microsoft. And maybe first an introduction. My name is Frans Oudendorp and maybe Per, you can start first. Let's the ladies start. Nina, who are you and what are you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, there is he.
Thank you for having us. So my name is Nina. I'm a product manager in Microsoft Endpoint Manager engineering team. And I really like this conference because it's very much community vibes and people are so nice. So very happy to be here.
Nice. And there are lots of Microsoft people in the house. So Per, what are you doing and where are you coming from? I think, yeah. Now is the online. That's the wrong microphone. He's online.
Yeah. First of all, I'm coming from Denmark. I'm in the same team as Nina. I'm in the team we call CAT, where we actually accelerate and help customers to deploy Endpoint Manager and help them remove the blockers and get feedback from the customer. That is also one of the reasons why we are attending here, to spread the news about what MEM can do and what Intune can do, and get feedback what is working and what is not working from the real life that we are feeding into the rest of our engineering organization.
Yeah, great to be you here and also on the table to have a short interview with you both. It was really early this morning, I guess, Nina.
Yeah, it was very early. To be honest, I was so surprised to see that people will wake up and come to the session at 7:30. But yeah, I think together we will probably manage throughout the day until 7:30.
Yeah, you have, I think, 3 other sessions today.
Yeah, 3 more to go. So let's hope that by the time we reach the last one, I'm not gonna lose the voice, but the adrenaline is definitely there.
Yes, great. And the first session this morning was about Windows 11 and Endpoint Manager. What was that all about, Per?
It was to tell something about the new security features, that Windows 11 is built on security from the bottom and up, and also why we did some of the things we did, and why some of the questions that we get from customers is why do we actually require TPM 2.0? And like Nina was saying in the session, you should actually use TPM 2.0 on Windows 10 because most of the security features on top of Windows 10 is also requiring that. But we also showed the new stuff that you can do that is introduced in Windows 11 and in Windows 11 only. Nina showed, for example, config lock. That is a feature where you can, when you configure MDM settings that are security related, that could be BitLocker, Windows Defender, in case of any drift. So it's not really a security feature, but it helps ensuring that the device is actually configured correctly. So in case that anybody tampers with it, the end user tampers with the settings, within a few seconds it will actually revert back to the settings that is mandated from the policy itself.
And if we look at Windows 11, the security features, you have showed a few items of them. Why should I use Endpoint Manager to manage my Windows environment?
That's a great question, because as the first part of our session, we actually touch base on zero trust, because that's something we really want to set as a base across all different products that we have, including the Endpoint Manager. And why we believe it's very important not to have the securest OS ever, which is Windows 11, but also ability to manage, because for us compliance is the key, ability to turn on these all security features. And we have a pretty seamless way of doing things with Endpoint Manager on the Windows 11.
So, and with Endpoint Manager, not only Windows, but also other OSs can be managed, and that will be extended?
Oh yes, we really like to. I think from Endpoint Manager team, we're very open to other also OEMs and in general other platforms, because our vision is to have one pane of glass to manage all platforms. Whatever users use, whatever they're comfortable with, we want to be able to support that.
Yeah, and to secure
Yes.
the data that we want to use on that devices.
Yeah, also so we could put it in a compliant state, so we can see if the device is compliant, yes or no, so we can leverage it with conditional access to only ensure that you have access to the data that you need from a compliant device.
Yep.
Yeah, from a non-compliant device, you can be blocked or have other measurements in place.
And with Endpoint Manager, we have lots of tools available. And I watched the keynote with Stephen and Ramya. One of the key features that will be mentioned there was Endpoint Analytics. I think you're working on that, Nina?
Yes, that's one of my favorite features of Endpoint Manager. I think, honestly, how the world changed, that will become essential. I mean, we need to leverage analytics and be able to do some work in more automated way, that we don't want to overwhelm IT admins of troubleshooting, looking at all of the things and testing. We want to have proactive approach, and in order to do that, we need these kind of signals that will only pinpoint to when we have a problem, so we can fix it before it hits everyone else. And that's how users will be happier, because they will not see the issues, and IT admins will be happier because they will not spend so much time as before on troubleshooting.
And finally, we can be in person on an event or a conference like this. The latest session today at 6:30, that is an Ask Me Anything.
Yeah.
What do you expect from an Ask Me Anything on a conference like this?
We expect all kind of questions, and we are actually a quite diverse team attending. It's so we can answer questions about Mac, Windows, iOS, Android. So everything you can manage with Endpoint Manager, we actually have people that can respond to it.
Yeah, it's great to see that so lot of Microsoft people from the Endpoint Manager team are joining us on this conference. So probably people will join and ask a lot of questions. Hopefully they will do that. And Nina, you're also delivering another session with application protection policies. Within Endpoint Manager, we can deliver a Windows OS. We can manage mobiles as well. But why should I use application protection policies on that managed devices already, probably, or on unmanaged devices?
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. So app protection policies really became a security feature, and we have people using both, either only on bring your own devices, they will use only app protection policies, and the other sort that will still use MDM device, but we still need app protection policies. And why do we need it on top of it? Because with MDM, we can control configuration settings, we can control what is on the device, but we still need app protection policies if we want to make sure that we prevent data leakage. If someone is by accident trying to copy paste the data, let's say from Outlook to Twitter, for example, and should not do that, we can prevent that. We can also enforce access pin and many other things that app protection policies offer. But we do see very often that yes, app protection policies are great to use on BYOD devices without MDM, but still, even if you decide to do enroll devices and managed, it's very important to have app protection policy as an additional layer on the top.
On top of mobiles, yeah.
And again, app protection policy in conjunction with conditional access, where we require approved apps, we can actually ensure that the end user can only access data from specific apps. So that is an additional security measures on data leakage.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they want to use an app where we can manage the data, so that is from a secure perspective, from a customer or from a partner perspective. Yeah, I think that is the way we want to consume data. in an effective way and in a secure way. Finally, we can be in person. What are the key benefits for you to be here on such a conference, Per?
It's actually to get the question, see people, meet people, not only in the session but also in the hallways. The questions that we actually get is, so we get other perspectives than we see each day, and the more perspective we get, and the reason why partners want a feature, that makes us better of actually building the product that the customer want and the customer ask.
Yeah.
So the biggest reason why our team exists is to figure out why customer actually wants a feature and what business benefits, business needs it actually solves.
Yeah, and Nina, what is that for you? It is in your home country, so
Yes, I'm so happy that we have finally in-person events. To be honest, in the past couple of years with the pandemic, we had to do everything online. And even though it's great because it's accessible, everyone can join, it's not the same feeling when you see face-to-face. Even when you do a session, you can, communicate with the audience, you see the faces, you see reactions, you get this instant feedback that really helps you deliver the session in the best way and get the feedback. And I just want to double down on what Per said on meeting in the hallways over a coffee during the breaks. That also makes a huge difference because you actually are meeting people that you maybe chatted over socials in 2 years ago and you never had the chance to meet them.
yeah, we talked about it right before this recording. We talked about this to see people in the eyes, to know what's happening, to see what they mean really. Because in an online meeting, we can collaborate, but the real interaction, the social aspect, is completely out of the system, and that is just finally we can meet each other. When looking at Endpoint Manager, I think the pandemic has also realized a movement to modern management, so it's more adopting at customers at the moment. Is that so?
Yes, I think during the pandemic we have seen also very unexpected things, like some organizations jumping from fully on-prem to fully cloud, which is not that common, or we didn't have seen that before in that number. But I think definitely it was a wake-up call for all of these organizations who didn't have a possibility for employees to work from home, to access things from different locations, and they were in this old school, you show up to the office, you work at the desk and you go home, because they had really to adapt fast. And then we actually saw what we predicted, and we were telling all the time by pandemic, you can do it, but they didn't have a chance to have a big reason to do it, but now they had, and we really observed a lot of these kind of behaviors.
One of the observations we also did, both during the pandemic but also right before, is that we are a global team. So we work in each time zone. So we have a team in Europe, and we have a team in America, and a team in the APAC region. We see customers in Europe being more, let's say, first movers to begin with cloud. So we did in Europe we actually did cloud first deployment several years ago, also before the pandemic. But seeing other regions is actually taking the same approach now, and we have a more mature product than we did before. They actually have a way better management. But what we also noticed when we talk to customers, especially the big ones, some customers is just taking one tool and replacing it with another, instead of actually thinking differently, thinking about modern management, thinking about securing their device. Why are they actually doing what they're doing? So that is a great experience, and the learning that we have gotten from customers all over the globe during the pandemic, that has been great.
What is the hardest thing for customers to move into modern management?
I would say definitely the hardest one is switching the mindset, because you would see that very often they would expect the same things they had on-prem to build exactly as is, mapping to the cloud, which doesn't work that way. Cloud devices have completely different requirements. They need to start thinking what they actually need. And that's something we try to enforce. As soon as we set the right mindset and they really know what it means, then everything else is easier, to be honest. Of course, it's not always the smoothest ever path. There are a couple of things you need to work on. But for me, the mindset was the biggest one.
Yeah, and lack of knowledge. Sometimes when we start engaging with a new customer, they're saying, yeah, we cannot go to Azure AD join devices, and they can actually not tell us why. So when we start talking to them and we engage with our counterparts in the Azure AD team, and the customer actually figures out that most of what they're doing today is actually possible on a cloud device, on a cloud managed device, pure Azure AD join, and they get some more benefits, faster log on time, more secure. They don't even need to be on premise to provisioning those devices. When that actually goes up for customer, I think that is the best part of our job.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, I think there is no customer that needs to be in an on-prem environment. Everyone can move in more or less to a cloud joined machine, probably with some legacy applications delivered in another way, but everyone has the opportunity to move into Endpoint Manager, into Azure AD, and so on. And if you want to start with that, please collaborate with partners with Microsoft and see what can happen on that. Thanks for now, being here and helping delivering stuff on the Workplace Ninja Summit, but also here on the table. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.